You stood next to the president as he talked about dismantling FEMA in favor of greater autonomy and targeted resources under the control of state and local officials. Does this tragic situation underscore that need for you, or does that change that dynamic of what would work best moving forward?
I think what we've seen here is exactly what President Trump has envisioned for FEMA is immediately allowing the state to do the response and supporting them in every way that they can. So this response was driven by Governor Abbott and his emergency management director and the local officials that were on the ground. And we were immediately there to fill in the gaps where they needed and to give them their disaster declaration as soon as possible, which happened almost immediately as soon as the governor asked. That's the FEMA and how it should operate, rather than how it operated under the Biden administration and previous administrations, where it was slow to respond, slow to get resources there. We already have emergency response teams on the ground that have been there from the very beginning. And then we want to empower the states to do the response that's necessary to best serve their people. So, the FEMA that President Trump wants in place is one that takes care of people, but also empowers those people who live in those communities that know how best to respond to have the authority to do so.
Those people in those communities that have the best way to respond and have the authority to do so, just not the money to do so, maybe not have the resources to do so. Because again, there's this federal government thing that we pay our tax dollars, state and federal tax dollars, to go towards to pay for things like this. It's not a giveaway. It's our damn money. But again, Kristi Noem wants you to believe that you don't deserve the things that you paid for. You can go to a grocery store, give them $100, and walk out with nothing. And do you expect the grocery store to say, come on, bro, what do you expect me to give you something for your money? They flipped everything completely on its head and make you believe that your money is supposed to go to rich people who then don't contribute anything to society except for a promise that one day, maybe an outside chance, that you might get an opportunity as they implement things to strip you of those opportunities to get anywhere in life. Here's this idiot still going on.
But frankly, the National Weather Service under President Trump has been working to put in new technology and a new system because it's been neglected for years. It's an ancient system that needed to be upgraded. And so President Trump recognized that right away and got to work on it when he came into office in January. But that installation is not complete and that technology isn't fully installed, but the alerts went out. We can continue to learn from every single situation, but know that during these times when we are trying to help people heal from situations like this, the best thing to do is to look and see how we can help and how we can walk alongside people and get them some relief. Make sure that we're doing all that we can to be more proactive in the future, but get through this terrible time right now as well.
They were upgrading the National Weather Service under Trump. Do you guys remember the upgrading of the National Weather Service under Donald Trump, when they were talking about and celebrating the cuts that they're doing to the National Weather Service and everything else under Donald Trump? Or maybe those normal upgrades that happened to the National Weather Service throughout the past 10, 15 years of these movements that are being made. But when there's halts and changes within the system, as they want you to believe weren't actually happening, even though they celebrated those things happening. There's a Texas Tribune article that specifically shows some of the things that they were talking about doing that they actually did. So that now that the results of those decisions have become deadly for many people, I'm gonna read a couple pieces from this article from the Texas Tribune. This article is from June 9th. Just about a month ago, a month before this thing happened. This hurricane season is going to be underway, and an above normal activity forecast is on its way. Some National Weather Service offices like Houston, where as many as 44% of positions are vacant, are operating with staff shortages, prompting concerns about their capacity to monitor future storms. June 9th, this article was written. The shortages stem from federal cuts that slashed roughly 10% of National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's workforce and triggered a wave of early retirements. With no staff members from the Houston and Galveston office when they were laid off, several hundred employees at NOAA, which hosts the National Weather Service, took a voluntary early retirement package. The National Weather Service provides weather warnings for tornadoes, hurricanes, wildfires, and floods, and produces river and hydrological outlooks and long-term climate change data. It serves as the forecast of record for many, including TV meteorologists, journalists, and researchers, as well as emergency managers who use it to plan for potential evacuations and rescue coordination during extreme weather events. So all those people with Trump derangement syndrome were talking about how these cuts were going to kill people. All those people that still have Trump derangement syndrome were talking about how these cuts to everything else that they've done, including now this bill that they just passed that's taking away healthcare from tens of millions of people, will kill people. This is why we can't sit back and wait for the midterms because, eventually MAGA folks are going to figure it out and they'll finally vote against this guy. Maybe enough of them will, or maybe enough of them will continue to buy that line of this is still Joe Biden's fault. But those folks, like 5 to 10 to 12-year-old children at this camp, they don't get a chance to vote. In fact, they don't get a chance to live. There are consequences for pushing this and allowing these guys to run rampant and hope that one day they'll figure it out, or hope that one day, as they tell you, they know what they're doing wrong, and that's the whole plan. And as your children die, as your parents die, as your brothers and sisters die, and as your ass dies, they don't give a damn. The plan is to raid your pockets and let you die. Ted Cruz's dumbass was out there as well, because obviously Ted Cruz represents, or he's a senator from Texas, doesn't represent anybody. He's just a senator from there. And he was talking with Fox News' Lawrence Jones. Lawrence Jones wanted to ask him, yo, you guys are screwing things up. When are you going to do something different? But Lawrence Jones works for Fox News, and he can't ask the question that way.
I know there's been some that want to politicize this senator, and we kind of got to push them aside.
Yeah.
But we got to do something different when it comes to protecting our girls, our kids, our community. What can we do? I mean, 45 minutes? Adults can't even respond in that time.
Well, look, there's a staging and ordering of things. The first thing with any crisis is search and rescue. And search and rescue is still ongoing. There are 10 girls missing. Our prayers are that those girls will still be found. After the search and rescue, you've got to just rebuild. I mean, you look at the wreckage here, and this wreckage, the number of homes and RVs and cabins that have been damaged. But there's no doubt afterwards we're going to have a serious retrospective, as you do with any disaster.
That's right.
And say, okay, what could have been done differently to prevent this disaster? And look, the fact that you have girls asleep in their cabins when the floodwaters are rising, something went wrong there. We've got to fix that and have a better system of warning to get kids out of harm's way.
We need a better system of warning to help people get out of harm's way. That better system of warning was cut with 40, just specifically in that office, 44% of its staff and meteorologists and people before this even happened said, this is a disaster. This is going to be tough. And even some of them said, we're going to tighten our belts and still get it done with our shortened staff cut damn near in half, and ways that we can potentially predict things like this and give those warnings. If only there was a system, Ted Cruz, he should get his ass out of Texas before someone finds him. And as he sweeps and looks at the damage, look at this disaster in front of us, Lawrence. Can you believe as children were sleeping in their beds? We can believe it. We keep hearing about it. We heard about children in their classrooms who got shot up as well. And what we heard from you guys was, we just need some thoughts and a couple of prayers to throw your way instead of doing anything about it. Instead, we have a president who said he's going to cut the things that did something about it. That's Ted Cruz. Here's another one of them.
That state and federal resources have just poured into that area. Is there anything more that can be done congressionally, legislatively to help these folks?
In a moment like this, we feel just as helpless as everyone else does. I've talked to my colleagues there in Texas, Chip Roy and August Pfluger, whose families, that's Chip's district. August's daughters were at the camp. We also had Betty Carter of Georgia, had grandchildren there. It touches so many families, and all we know to do at this moment is pray. Every available resource has been deployed. The president, of course, is dialed in and watching this develop moment by moment as we are, and we'll handle supplemental funding requests as they come in. But right now, they're still trying to do rescue and recovery, and our hearts go out to all of them.
All Mike Johnson can do right now is pray. Because right now all he can do is pray. But on Thursday and Friday, dude was standing in front of podiums and had a bunch of his crew behind him celebrating, passing a bill that'll make more of this happen. But right now, all they can do is pray. He can only pray about it and then hope that something, maybe someone in charge, maybe leadership within the country can do something about it as they celebrate that they're in leadership positions now of the country. If only we could have done something about it. Who knows? If only we could have do something about the people that are going to die next week and the people that are going to die next month. And people are going to die the month after that. If only there's something now in July that we can do about people that are going to die at the end of July. They're going to die in August. If only there's something we could do besides just pray about it. You sorry some bitch. That's all you can do. That's all this guy can do. I'm telling you, that's what they're offering you. Are you willing to accept that? J.D. Vance said, our nation heartbreaks for the victims in Texas and their families. It's just an incomprehensible tragedy. It's incomprehensible. We have no idea. I hope everyone affected knows that they're in the prayers of my family and the millions of Americans. Nobody that's affected gives a hot damn which prayers they're in for you, who was a part of making sure that they need some prayer now to be comforted by the loss of their loved ones. A couple of prayers after their policies do something else.